Hi guys, it's Rob Slater. Welcome back to the channel. Now, I've just got back from 2 weeks on Cunard's brand new ship Queen Anne on her second voyage. This is what we saw and heard and experienced firsthand. Now, it's important to understand that certainly some of this is my own experience, but a lot of it's a collection of random conversations that we had or we overheard over the 2 weeks we were on board. At meal times, in bars or coffee lounges, in the lifts, pretty much everywhere. It's a description on what we saw. This is here, that's there. But also with a commentary on how we felt and what we heard others say, their likes and dislikes. Now, if you sail on her in 6 months' time, you may well say, what the hell is he talking about? But this is what we saw on this second voyage. Really before many of the crew had their chance to sort of find their feet or get bedded in, as it were. So things may well have changed. Now, I didn't sail on Queen Anne as a travel advisor. I was here purely as a paying passenger, and only my 4 dining companions eventually learned of my job. But obviously, as a TC, well, I look with different eyes. So, in a nutshell, well, this is a tale of 2 ships, 2 differing styles. You've got traditional Cunard versus new Cunard. Okay, first impressions. Well, Queen Anne seems big. She's only about 100 foot longer than Queen Victoria and holds an extra 900 odd passengers, but she feels big. Everything seems so far away. You'll certainly get your steps in here. So let's start with boarding and disembarkation. Long-standing queues to get both on and off the ship, combined with luggage not turning up for 4 hours. Well, as many school reports have said, could do better. Let's just hope it was just teething problems. So let's do the cabin tour. Ours was 5074. It's a balcony on deck 5. To be honest, I was slightly taken back when the porter opened the door. First glance, it seemed smaller, more compact, if you like. In fact, this stateroom, is approximately 180 square feet, whereas ours on Victoria last year was 190 square feet. Balcony, 48 square as opposed to 56, so not a huge amount of difference, but it really did seem smaller. Now, the difference really did become apparent when the luggage arrived and we started to unpack. Quite simply, there's just not enough storage space, particularly usable hanging space. The main hanging space was taken over by my wife's dresses and tops. Now, not unreasonably, we're there for 2 weeks and she wants to wear something nice every evening. But even mix and match, this is 5 or 7 tops and bottoms, plus of course the gowns for the formal nights. I was given the 2 smaller ones, but really these are only large enough for a couple of tuxes, 1 extra jacket and 3 dress shirts. And even that is very tight, they're still getting crumpled. Most of the rest of my shirts and trousers are folded, whereas they normally all hang. This did necessitate several trips to the laundrette to iron shirts for the evenings. Now, there is a codicil to this. There's a space underneath the safe which also contains another hanging rail, but I only found this by accident 8 days in. One reason I didn't see it before is that, well, there are no hangers there to make a noise, and unless you're actually bending right down, you wouldn't know it was there. It's below normal waist height. Now, thinking about your normal demographic, your older passengers, how many would be physically able to access this rail? But, as you can see, the shirts are still not hanging properly. There are also lower rails available in the other wardrobes, but again, the same lack of drop applies. Now, one thing is for sure, you certainly wouldn't want to do a world cruise in this cabin or have a 3rd person on the sofa bed. Even with the extra rails, the lower rails, I think this comment still stands. Moving on to the bathroom, or the toilet. It's small and generally laid out, with a lovely walk-in shower. Shower cubic itself, it's a delight. No clingy curtain and plenty of space inside. The shower itself is simplicity itself. Easily adjusted for angle, quick turn of the left-hand lever for on and off, and it's a lovely spray. Right-hand one controls the temperature, and it's very, very sensitive. It can chuck out very hot or very cold water really quite quickly. You have the usual range of Penhaligon toiletries, your hand soap and lotion, shower gel, shampoo and conditioner, and yes, there is a shower socket and face flannels. One thing I did find, when drying off after a shower, open the cubicle door, gets a little bit more toweling room. There is one notable design irritation: the position of the loo roll holder. Now, when you sit on the loo, the toilet roll, it's right down beside your left hip. Now, that's not the easiest thing to access. We just took the roll off the holder and put it up on the top beside the sink. Hey. So, back to the bedroom. Found a nice welcome bottle of bubbly and 5 bottles of spring water, which were regularly replenished by our cabin steward Ronald. Lovely, lovely guy, ever so helpful. In the corner, you've got a shelving unit with a fridge underneath. This also has the kettle and the coffee machine on it. But this is not a large desk, so having these appliances really takes up the space for makeup. And while we're talking about makeup, there's a lovely light around the mirror. It's lovely as background or mood lighting, but for doing your makeup, well, it's not really up to the job, to be honest. You've got 2 UK power sockets, one over the dressing table and the second beside the bed, the one nearest the wardrobe. You've also got 3 USB and USB-C charging sockets, again dressing table and either side of the bed. Now, looking at the balcony, the hinged door, it is very, very heavy. My wife, with her mobility issues, she struggled with it, as did I, having a shoulder injury. Again, think of the elderly travellers. Balcony itself, it's nice. It's a nice size, just deep enough for the two chairs to be reclined side by side. One thing that was pointed out to me by a fellow passenger, when you sit upright in the chair, the handrail, it's at perfect eye level to block the horizon. Hey, first world problems, eh? One major irritation though, in the warmer climes, I enjoy sitting on the balcony late of an evening with a quiet drink and a book. You can't do it on Queen Anne. There's no light on the balcony. Now, as we're talking balconies, mine 507 forward, it's midships, and we overlooked the lifeboats, and we were completely private. However, looking forward and back, that's right and left from my balcony, we could see straight into the balconies of the larger staterooms to the forward and backward to some of the princess suites. Now, as you see, they have little to no privacy, so please, no naked sunbathing here. Something important to note, if you need an accessible cabin, well, the doors are obviously wider to accommodate a wheelchair, but it seems that none of them have any sort of automatic opening mechanism. So if you're alone or with somebody who may struggle with a larger door, well, you may have a problem. So moving on to the public areas, well, the first thing you notice, it's a real lack of a wow factor. The central atrium or ground lobby on most ships, well, it does what it says on the tin. It has a statement sculpture or something. Some have acres of warm polished wooden stairs, others have modern or Art Deco floor-to-ceiling pieces. The grand lobby on Queen Anne, there's a clever Cunard amograph or lenticular on the main wall behind the stairs, and another one below, which is really only visible from the ground floor. Depending on where you look at it, either straight on or side to side, you can see 3 different images. And then there's a small art piece further out and nice displays of flowers. But really, apart from that, well, it's something of nothing. There's a nice cafe bar on level 1. Sitting at the foot of the staircase here, this is where you can get the best view of the atrium, looking up. And here you've got a nice open plan area, drawing room, games room, purser's office, all leading off, and it's a nice place to just sit and people watch. The other lounges and bars are, well, they're a mix of modern and more traditional Cunard. The MDR, the main dining room, Britannia Club, Artisan's Food Hall for the buffet, they're all clean, shiny and modern. The speciality restaurants, well, they're similarly modern. Golden Lion, it's a bit more traditional British pub, and then you can take a small step back in time to the chart room and the Commodore lounges. Chart room on level 2. This is a mainly enclosed room filled with low comfy seating in darker, warmer tones and a more Cunard feel, with some seating outside overlooking the grand lobby, while the Corinthia lounge above has more modern furniture and it's far more open plan. The Corinthia, however, has a nice selection of snacks that are mainly included and a good selection of drinks and coffees. If you're there in the afternoon, 3 o'clock, and you don't fancy the full afternoon tea experience, more about that later, you can have fresh shoe buns with a variety of very, very sickly but delicious fillings. Now, to me, the Commodore Lounge on level 10, this is the most Cunard public space. This overlooks the bow, and it's always a relaxing place to watch the world go by. There's usually subtle background music, songs from the likes of Ella Fitzgerald, Nina Simone, Michael Bublé, Sinatra, and many, many others. All laid-back versions of the standards. And then in the evening, in really quite subdued mood lighting, there's often live piano music. It's a really nice place to chill and just watch the sun go down. One thing that was noted by many, many people, the temperature on board in all the bars and lounges. Quite simply, it was cold. The aircon was blowing out really quite chilly air. Lots of people wrapped up in cardies or jumpers, both day and night. Now again, not just me saying it, lots of comments about that flying around. Something that was pointed out to me, there doesn't seem to be an actual chart room with a globe or paper atlases. Yes, I know most of us have iPhones or whatever with Google Maps, but there's nothing really quite like seeing where you are, where you've been, on a physical representation, something you can actually touch, ignoring the madness of COVID. But to me, there's still a sense of wow when you look at the distances you've travelled, especially if, like me, you wonders about the seafarers of old. Back on level 1, you have the drawing room with desk space where you can write or work, and then opposite there you've got the card or the games room. Both of these have a bit more of a Cunard feel to them. Now, there's no dedicated sports bar here, no winter garden with multiple screens, although there are several TV screens in the Golden Lion. The 1840 room with the casino and the slot machines to one side seems to be the only place where you can watch sports. That said, the central pavilion pool area has a large screen that does show TV programmes and occasionally films, although we didn't see any sporting events shown. Queen's room on level 2. This has an overlooking balcony and it's pretty central to the ship. This is where lots of group activities take place, aerobics or dance classes in the day, the theatre of afternoon tea, and then of course you have live entertainment in the evening. Now this is a far smaller venue than on other ships. The dance floor is probably half the size of Queen Victoria, and again it's lacking that elegance. But there's a quirky little gilded spiral staircase between the Queen's room and level 3 above. It's lovely, but it really seems strangely out of place. Top of these stairs, several boutique and speciality shops. Quite of this was a bit like Rodeo Drive in Hollywood. If you have to ask the price, you probably can't afford it. Then you have the souvenir shop where you can buy your Cunard branded clothing or models of the ship, but there's no ordinary shop for essentials you may have forgotten, toothpaste or deodorant, etc. The essentials section, well, it's hidden away in duty free. Where else? And to be honest, it is tiny. There is of course the art gallery with the usual eclectic displays for sale, as well as artwork dotted around the corridors and the stairs. Mainly modern abstract and with the occasional sort of black and white photo of the glamour days of cruising. This mix of old and new rather seems to sum up Queen Anne. She has a foot, or should I say a propeller, in two different ages. Now, while we're talking old and new, well, there are some things that are quintessential Cunard, such as the afternoon tea and the classical string ensembles just playing around the ship. In terms of entertainment, well, there's usually live music somewhere on board, whether it's a lone pianist, duet, the string ensemble or a group. And then you've got your standard Cunard range of insight talks in the Royal Court Theatre, as well as quizzes, bingo, and then a variety of evening shows. So, moving outside, well, let's look at the decks. 2.5 laps of the promenade deck is a mile. Now, unlike other prom decks, you walk beside the lifeboats on here rather than underneath them. Now, this, combined with the extra width of the Britannia restaurant, the shops and lounges, means that quite a lot of it is really quite narrow. So, if you're on a route march, well, you're going to have to pick your spot to weave around the slower walkers. And to be honest, if you want to go jogging, well, you may need to go before breakfast or while people are at dinner. Otherwise, to be honest, I think you're going to struggle. So, on the subject of exercise or well-being, down on level 1 you've got a fitness centre with a good range of gym machines, spin, running, rowing, etc., as well as yoga classes. Also the wellness centre with a range of massage treatments and hair and nail salons. Now, it's not a cheap option. My wife had the deep tissue massage, which she said was the best she's ever had. Back outside, several sun decks, most have a bar close by, and several decks have painted grids for deck games. We did notice that the sun lounges were very hard to find, especially on sunny sea days, with many reserved by the lounger fairies, often at silly o'clock and then left for hours. Although, to be fair, I'm told the staff are cracking down on these. The sky deck on deck 14 towards the bow has a golf driving net, mini putting green and deck games, including a small netted pickleball court. There's also an outdoor table tennis table, though, to be honest, they're not an awful lot of use if it's windy. There's also archery on occasions, although sadly not aiming at the sun lounger fairies. Oh, should I say that? Sky deck is also where you'll find the smoking area. Now, this is mostly covered and has tables and chairs and lounges that can accommodate around about 80 people. Just be warned, it can get blowy up there. You really need to be a dedicated smoker. Now, you've got two pools, the central pavilion pool with its retractable roof and then the open air panorama pool at the stern. Several hot tubs at both locations. Both of these are very, very popular venues, especially on sunny days. So let's talk about the service in the bars and the coffee shops. Well, I've got to be honest, certainly during the daytime it felt quite slow. Several venues in the early days, the mumbling I could hear around was really quite loud as people were trying to catch the eye of a waiter. To be fair, in the evenings there did seem to be more about, so maybe they were on other duties. It almost seems as if Cunard have put the same number of wait staff on Queen Anne for 3,000 passengers as they had for 2,000 on Victoria. Now, the individual wait staff are fantastic, you can't fault them. Indeed, many have come from the other ships. It's just that quite often there weren't enough of them. As I've already said, this could just be a teething or shakedown issue. And so the food. Well, I decided to treat us this trip, so I'd upgraded to Britannia Club. Now, it's a good chunk of money extra, but it gives us an exclusive club restaurant with a guaranteed table for breakfast, lunch and dinner, and afternoon tea if you want it, at pretty much whatever time suited us. It's a sort of halfway house between the MDR and the grill restaurants. There's no waiting, you just turn up when you want, and the same table waiters are there waiting ready for you. It's a combination of the certainty of fixed dining with the same companions and waitstaff, but with the flexibility of freedom dining, plus a few extra meal options. And because it's our table, there's no rush for us to leave. But to be honest, the real bonus of this was disembarkation day. No bun fight in the buffet, just a relaxed, leisurely breakfast. Bonus. Now, I've always had freedom dining and new dinner companions every day, so having the same people every time was a new one. Yes, club does cost more, but to me it really does enhance the specialness. It was lovely. You get to know your wait staff and your fellow diners, and as a result of that, we now have several really good friendships. Breakfast in club, well, the menu's 2 pages. You can have your juice, cereals, porridge pastries, as well as your normal fry-ups, kippers, smoked salmon or scrambled eggs, whatever you want. It's a huge range and it's all very, very tasty. But the real beauty of this is if you don't want part of a dish, you can ask for it to be tweaked. My wife is not a great bread eater, but she does love her scrambled egg. So she asked the waiter for the scrambled eggs with salmon, of course, but with no toast. A few minutes later, he reappeared with 2 little mounds of screg, but no toast. And of course, the real benefit of club dining, having the same waiters, the waiter said, would Madam like the same today? It becomes a real personal service. This is the luxury cruise experience. Now, we only ate lunch in club a couple of times. Lovely as it is, a 3-course meal at lunchtime as well as dinner, It really is too much. And yes, I know you don't have to have 3 courses, but hey, it's rude not to. Dinner in club is the same daily menu as the MDR, but a few extra a la carte options with specials that you can pre-order. Lemon sole, rack of lamb, or Grissingham duck. And if you want a bit of theatre, ask for the flambé de jour for dessert.
Safety first. 1, 2, 3.
As before, you can ask for extras. One dinner guest wanted 2 prawn cocktail starters. After a couple of evenings, they got wise and made him a double-sized one. Another asked for gravy rather than table sauces. Hey presto sir, no problem. I did hear a few grumbles about the lack of a veggie option, but to be fair, once our maitre d' realised my wife prefers veggie food, he did present her with a far better menu. Now, I think that Cunard are really missing a trick here. Many lines now have a menu of the region. Wherever the ship is docked, there'll be a selection of foods from or representing that country. Slightly generic here, but it could be paella from the Spanish islands, pasta from Italy, or roast beef and spotted dick from the UK, but you get the idea. Now, although we had a share table for 6, the tables for 2 really are very close together. Some are more like 4s and 6s anyway, just that ours was circular rather than long. And of course, if you don't like where you are, maybe you don't like your dining companions, you can ask the maitre d' to move you, and they will certainly try to accommodate. Now the food, both normal and a la carte, it was delicious. To be honest, it was a little bit limited and repetitive. The a la carte menu was the same the whole voyage. I've shown a few courses here, but generally speaking, I really can't fault it. Word of warning, if you eat in the club for all 3 meals, bring larger sizes of clothes. You will put on weight. Now, as we're talking about weight gain, this seems a really good time to talk about Cunard's famous afternoon tea, which you could have in the Queen's Room with the theatre of the white glove waiters being clapped in the Britannia Club, or even in the buffet. Now, this is an unashamed calorie fest. Canapes followed by mini sandwiches, followed by petit fours, scones with cream and jam, all washed down with gallons of tea or coffee, all served in fine china cups. And the wait staff just keep on coming round with top-ups. That can easily last an hour, and then it's only 2.5 hours till dinner. As was said to me, board as a passenger, leave as cargo. If you don't want formal, there's the buffet, the Artisan's Food Hall on level 9. Now, different lines, even different ships, have different serving systems post-COVID. Some have returned to serve yourself, others, like Queen Anne, have you ask the cooking staff to plate your food up. You simply ask for some of this or some of that and they plate it and give you the result. Now, I watch them serving and they're very, very helpful. Just 2 tomatoes please, another bit of rice or curry, another spoon of this, no problem. The only gripe I had with the buffet was that the printed menus, the font was way too small to be easily read. I mentioned this to the duty manager on day 2. She said it had already been raised and it was in hand. A couple of days later, I was back in the buffet. I noticed the font had been increased big time. It was so much easier to read. Breakfast in the buffet, well, you've got a huge range here. You've got your wide range of cereals, your cold meats or cheese platter, right through to a variety of cooked foods. You've got your normal range of fried food, you've got kippers, freshly cooked omelettes or waffles. The MDR, Britannia restaurant, also serves a plated breakfast if you wish. Lunchtime in the buffet, again, wide selection of foods to be had. You've got your cold stuff, your filled rolls, ham, egg or tuna, the best egg mayo I've had in years. You've got a good selection of salads, right through hot meals. You've got curries, meat or veggie chilies, roasts, fish and chips, or freshly cooked pasta dishes. Now, apart from the speciality restaurants, the food The MDR and Club and the buffet, well, they're pretty much the same, with just a few variations or extras. The only real difference is how you're served and what you wear. You pays your money, you takes your pick. Another really good informal eatery is the Burger Bar by the Pavilion Pool. Here you get burgers, including veggie or plant ones, and hot dogs, all cooked fresh, and to be honest, they're very, very nice. These are included in your fare. Note to self, not good for the waistline. Upper floor to the Wellness Cafe. This is overlooking the Pavilion Pool, where you can get a selection of healthy eating options, so I'm told. There are 5 eateries or specialty restaurants that are not included within your normal fare. The Golden Lion has a mix of included and chargeable foods. Italian, Indian and Sir Samuel's have basic menus with supplementary courses that you can add on as well. Then you have the Japanese sushi restaurant, which charges by the dish. Now, most, if not all ships now have notices in the buffet asking people not to refill personal water bottles from the juice or the water dispensers, supposedly for hygiene reasons. Now, despite the signs, there are still many people doing this, but I found just 2 dispensers for this purpose. Level 3 between the Grand Lobby and the Queen's Room, and strangely on level 2 behind Stairwell B. Now, I'm sorry, but if they really want to stop this happening in the buffet for whatever reason, they really need to be more of these around the ship. Just a thought. So, did I enjoy Queen Anne, and would I sail on her again? To be honest, this has me really confused and conflicted. Now, I really love Cunard as a brand. I like the charm, the style, the feel of the ships. When you board a Cunard Queen, you're taken back to a bygone era that may or may not have existed of elegance, and where cruising really was a luxury experience. But to me and many others, well, it just doesn't have that feel. It's not a Cunard experience. It was in fact said to me that if they hid all the logos, the branding, etc., you probably wouldn't know that you're actually on board a Cunard Queen. Queen lines and modern, lots of glass and steel, but to be honest, it could be any other line. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a lovely ship, all shiny and new, and there's a lot to like, and yes, we had a lovely time. But I'm not sure who Cunard are actually targeting with Queen Anne, which age group, which demographic. So, in my opinion, well, Cunard it's the luxury exponent of your mainstream cruise lines. As I understand it, well, Cunard has always been for a particular type of passenger. Think of the TV ads. They emphasise the sort of upper classness, even though that doesn't actually exist, of the formality of the tuxedos and the evening dresses. And of course, Cunard does have a very loyal following who enjoy that sort of opportunity of dressing up to the nines. But as I've already said, many of those people that enjoy the stylish ship, the decor, the environment that goes with that sort of dress code. But to be honest, Queen Anne is so modern in design, it's hard to see who they're aiming at. As I said before, it's as if the ship is in 2 different time zones, with things like the tradition of afternoon tea and the enrichment sessions being presented in modern architecture. Now, I was really looking forward to this trip. I so wanted to be wowed. But talking to fellow passengers in lifts, coffee shops, bars, lounges, etc., well, the overriding impression was they were all underwhelmed. It was just okay. The general consensus amongst the seasoned Cunard cruisers was that Queen Anne lacked the elegance of the other ships. Queen Victoria was mentioned quite often. It's not Queen Victoria. During the daily broadcasts, the captain or officer of the watch referred to the ship as the beautiful Queen Anne. On Victoria, the description is the elegant Queen Victoria, and therein lies the difference. So, I know this is all subjective, so before the haters start typing, this is just my view and that of the people I bumped into and overheard. But hey, if you enjoyed her, I'm really happy for you. So I hope you found this video interesting. Give me a like, leave me a comment below and subscribe so that you're notified when a new video comes out. My next trip is the complete opposite to this. It's Virgin Voyage's Scarlet Lady in June. See you soon.